Bum 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 bum, a boom boom ba ba dum bum ba bum bum ba bum 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 ba ba dum boom boom ba bum bum ba bum bum.
The first question on the mind was about how do you nullify a mitzvah d'oraisa with chashash Shema Yavarenu. Can that question apply to any mitzvah? I mean, and even tshuva, like it's just emphasizes the question, or it's dafka. I mean, can you answer the question on any gezerah that's nullifying a mitzvah saseh, d'oraisa, or it's only
any. The primary question is any, and then he makes an emphasis on mitzvah tshuva, which is a great mitzvah. But any mitzvah, it's a in the raisa.
How do the Rabbanim have the koyach to be able to nullify a mitzvah d'oraisa?
They're not nullify. They
make
avoid
offense and avoid it in a particular situation.
Right. So clearly they can definitely do it when there is a clear chashash of a transgression. But there isn't. But here it's a gezerah, far-fetched concern. And is a mitzvah d'oraisa.
Paltiel?
For example, if you have a bris meal, just 1 second, boss. You have a bris meal on Shabbos. So you can mal on Shabbos. That we know, right? What if you forgot and you did not prepare the knife or whatever, you didn't bring the things in? You're not allowed to bring it. Even if it means to bring it by a shoes that is only also with the rabban.
So you forgot the knife, you can't do the bris.
What?
If you forgot the knife, you can't do the bris.
How are you going to do this without a knife? The pebi on the mitzvah, we don't cut with that.
So in that case, it nullifies the bris, but he could have prepared it before.
He could have prepared it for it. And here, it's a clear violation of the rabban. It's not a shash. I said, no, you can't, even though it's under the rabban.
Well?
Yes, Baruch, your turn. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So maybe this is too far-fetched a question, but the first time around, I don't remember, but maybe I forgot, that we ever got to, through the whole Hemshech, the answers to these questions.
No, we did not. The Hemshech is actually not concluded. We don't have the conclusion of the Hemshech.
We don't have the answer to these questions, basically.
We do not. In this Hemshech, we do not have an answer to these questions because this Hemshech has not reached its conclusion. Has not been. We don't have the final writing.
I suppose it would be presumptuous to ask you to imagine, given where the Hemshech takes us, to what might be the answers to these questions.
All right. We'll try to do that on the rebound. I'm just trying to
We went over onto Daled.
what?
We on. Did we go into the
Oh
top
yeah, I
of
thought
Daled?
okay, that Timtzum.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
We had the parentheses about the gam Tiferes Mashtasar Pardes. That's like
Tiferes, yeah,
7
that
lines
we
down.
discussed, right? No, but that.
I think we're right after that. Vayidei Chachma Bina and Shacham.
Okay, right.
Where are we? What page?
Page Dalet.
Line.
Well, it's line 8. Okay, the line starts with the parentheses of Gambit Tiferes Mishikosa Bepartis. Okay, the general topic specific to this area is that there is a tzinoires, there's the various conduits, as in the moshel of the tzinoir from the river, that there is a large conduit coming from the river, and this large conduit permits that there be smaller conduits leading the filling of specific kalim. And in the nimshal, this is the inyan of the tzimtzum and the kav, and the kav is first nimshal in keser, and then from keser it comes in chochma bina. Chochma bina are the recipients from keser, and in parentheses it says that Tiferes also is direct recipient from chochma bina, even though Tiferes is one of the midas, and midas, generally speaking, receive their shocha v'chayis or oyer from chochma and bina. So chochma and bina, there are, just briefly, there are two types of hamshochas from chochma and bina. There is hamshocha from chochma and bina when bina actually defines the midah, and then there's hamshocha from chochma and bina just connect the keser to the midah. They open up the connection, and thereby the midah recognizes the way it's found in the keser, and this is what's called the feres. And as we discussed last time, that since that the feres represents the coordination and the unification of two opposite midas of chesed and gvura, that to facilitate that type of coordination and unification, you have to have an oyer that is superior to a specific oyer, and that is the oyer that comes from keser. Keser is able to relate to this type of unification of two opposites. And this is why we say that Tiferes actually, Chochma Bina is just a conduit, a means by which it senses the oyer of the Keser. Okay, so we'll continue. Validei Chochma Bina, and then, as a result of Chochma Bina, and through Chochma Bina, Nimshochim Hatzinoiros Bezayim Midas Zoh. The Tzinoiros, these the lines are drawn into Zoh, into Zayim Midas of Zoh. The Hu Inyan, and this is essentially the inyan that is discussed elsewhere, Lamed Beis Nesives Chochma, the 32 pathways of Chochma, Shehein Tzineirei HaHamshocha, which are the tzinoir, the conduits of the Hamshocha, of the drawing Meha Chochma El Habina, from the Chochma into Bina. Just one more line or so, and we will discuss this a little bit, enrich this a little bit. The tchilas ha'hamshocha, the tchilas ha'hamshochas ha'kav me'ha'keser, which means that the starting point, the beginning of the hamshoch of the kav as it comes from the keser, hu b'chochma. It first can only feed into chochma. V'zehu, and that constitutes the hamshoch into chochma, constitutes tchilas ha'gilui, the seder hishtalshelus. The starting point of the gilui that can relate to seder hishtalshelus. So, seder hishtalshelus, we already discussed in the past, identified the principle of seder hishtalshelus. Now, one may ask if Chochmah draws its oil from Keser, how is not Seder Hishtalshelus? If we say that Chochmah is the Tchilas Hagili, the Seder Hishtalshelus, and Keser is not part of Seder Hishtalshelus. If Keser is not part of Seder Hishtalshelus, how do you identify, how do you define, what is the term for the Hamshocha from Keser into Chochmah?
Because Keser is, I'm sorry, that's the first part. Keser is not part of Seder Hishtalshelus?
That's what we say. Chochmah is the beginning of Seder Hishtalshelus.
Yeah, so how do you define Keser?
But Chochmah comes from Keser. And Keser also comes from the Kab, from Ak and so forth. Why is Chochmah identified as Tchilas Hagil and Seder Hishtalshelus?
Why not say it's above? Why not say?
Why is the difference? What's the difference? The Hamshocha from Chochmah on down into Bina versus the Hamshocha from Keser into Chochmah.
As we said, Chochmah is already in Zman Emuk.
Right, when he said, okay. So we have to identify what is the difference between this Hamshocha and that. He doesn't say Oilam, he says Seder Hishtalshelus. What is the difference between the Hamshocha, the way it comes from Keser, and the Hamshocha, the way it comes from Chochmah? And we call it Seder Hishtalshelus.
Can you explain the very beginning, Tzinoros into Zah? Can you explain?
Sinoir. We're discussing the whole time that the Kav provides for different. You know what a conduit is?
Yeah.
A Sinoir is like a conduit, like a means to flow, to bring light, from a higher place to a lower place, to a more limited place.
It comes from Zah.
No, it comes into Zoh. Chochmah and Bino, it's Nimshach, the Tineris into Zayim Midas the Zoh.
It means the 7 emotions, right?
Mm-hmm. Did that answer your question? All right. So in order to get a footing into explaining this question, I'm going to read one more line. V'yodua, it is known, the b'chochma meir oir insoi b'kiruv mokom. That in chochma shines the oir insoi, the infinite light, b'kiruv mokom, close up. V'haino b'gilui oir rab. I say b'kiruv mokom, we mean to say that it is with great intensity and great clarity. In general, we have to bear in mind a principle that we are constantly discussing. The principle of Chose Beheir. When we talk about the Hamshocha from Keser into Chochmah, or from the Kav into Keser, Keser into Chochmah, Chochmah into Bina, and Bina into AyinBase, we are talking about not its the Keli, the physical presence. We're talking about the oil. So let us take a little bit of an analogy. Where is the oil? So taking a most down-to-earth, mundane illustration of the concept, so that we have a good handle on this. You conceptualize a table. The concept of a table is not a board on four legs. The concept of the table is a human status, that a human being, and it's not even convenience. As we said, a human being sits in front of a table, and everything is prepared for him right there in front of him. This is a special human quality. This is not just for convenience purposes. We always discuss these principles. This is called the oir. Oir has seichel. Then this oir is then further translated into a physical keli, where you say, okay, so under this circumstance, I can prepare for you a table from pieces of wood and four legs. The form, the board and four legs, this is not what emanates from the Chochmah. This is not the Oira Chochmah. This is a means to catch that oil, which means that this Oira Chochmah, by the time it comes from Chochmah into Bina, it has been so reduced from its primary and supernal state that it can actually be mislabesh in a physical keli. This is called oil bihislapshus in the keli.
What is the concept itself?
The concept I explained. The concept itself is a human inyan. You don't seat a person in front of a board and four legs. You seat a person in front of a table, which is a human concept. And this can be captured. It's in the Chochmah, in the Keser, actually in the Rotzen or Nefesh. There is also that in you. But there, the oil is not such that can be translated and put into a keli. Then it's reduced and it comes into Chochmah, and it comes into Bina, and then from Bina it comes into Midas, where he says, oh yeah, this type of thing I would like to have in practice. Then he is able to put that into a keli, into a board of four legs. But what is it? What trickles down? What follows through all these various steps? This is called an oir hanefesh, as evidence in the fact that even when you have a table fully constructed, only a human being can relate to a table. The cat will never appreciate the table, no matter how defined it is, because it doesn't have the oir, the essential sense. And the human being, when he looks at the table, he sees the table, he sees the significance of it. He doesn't see the board in 4 letters. Except, that's what I'm pointing out, that this oir originates very, very high and very deep in the nefesh odom. To the extent that if you seat a person other than in that environment, he feels uncomfortable. And not just because convenience is missing. He just feels uncomfortable, out of place. The Gemara says, not because it's not convenient, it's doimel lekelev. You know what that means? He's like a dog. A person who eats in the marketplace, or walks and eats in the public domain, is likened to a dog. And when a human being sits and by the table, he feels like a human being. It's a completely different thing. It's not the convenience. It's the oyer hanefesh. It's called seichel anushi. The seichel is seichel. Clearly, in this case, is a transmission of the original oil the way it is in the nefesh, and it cannot be transmitted to any other creature except that one that has a nefesh order. If it doesn't have a nefesh order, it's never going to work. No matter how well trained. The story with the Rambam with the cat and the mouse. Kelim and Oiris are 2 different worlds. The Hamshocha, we're talking from Nefesh into Kesef, into Chochmah, we're talking about Hamshocha of Oir. How you capture that Oir is immaterial. There are all kinds of different ways. If a person happens to be in the public domain and he has no other place to stop, to eat, and he has to eat, so he will walk into a corner, turn around, and he will somehow eat in Bitsina. So he will still be reflecting a human who doesn't have a table. But he doesn't have a table. That makes it not possible to be like a human being. There's still the human element. He stands in a corner and leans over, and he eats bitzina. That is at this moment. This is how he acts like a human being.
It's the same oil. It's the same oil.
It's a similar thing. Yes, it's the same oil. It's a similar thing, but not very slapshus. But if he stand there publicly and eat, he really is demeaning himself. Now, using this mashal, think about this. If this oil ha-nefesh, the way it is in nefesh oil, were not translated in seichel and midas, take a person who did not grow up in a civilized setting, He still is a human being. Still has human neshama, human nefesh. He wants to be, like we said all the time. You see a person, you see him lying in the gutter in his own throw up. You say, wow, a human being. He's not acting like a human being. He is a human being. Except his human quality has not been translated in seichel and midas. Seichel and midas has to be nimshach into seichel and midas. Normally, by normal living, by normal direction, by illustration, he catches up. Like I said many times, a child, you show him to eat with a spoon, he right away catches, oh yeah, that's the way to eat. But if you don't show it to him, then he eats his hands. Doesn't mean that he feels comfortable, but that's the way it is. And even if you find this man in the gutter, and you say, oh, he's acting like him, he's a human being. And you feel pain for him. Why do you feel pain for him? He's a dog, he's not a human. He is a human being. Except that human being needs to be brought out. What we are respecting is not his habits, how he is, he has been trained to live like a human being. He's getting to the neshama, the godly element that's in him, which is in neshama. This is what we respect. Koved habriyos, like we always mention, koved habriyos is a precept in the Torah. HaTorah chosha al koved habriyos. Why? Because koved habriyos is koved haboira. Because the Eibishter has created a human being, giving him a tzelem elikim, different levels, of course. Ayid, like Havod Agoy, is two different worlds, but still there's a tzelem elikim. There's seichel. Agoy can become Ayid. That says a lot. And there's Koved Havrim, it's the tzelem elikim in a hidden way. That tzelem elikim he doesn't lose even if he lies in the gutter. He's profaning it, he's insulting it, but he still has it.
There's also tzelem elikim.
And Goy has tzelem elikim in at much on the physical level. He has seichel, seichel is tzelem elikim. He has seichel anushi. Seichel is already Ayin elikim. It's not seichel elikim, but it's seichel. So now, as we started saying, this person who grew up without any demonstration how a human being is supposed to live, and his seichel, his nefesh, so to speak, his essence has not been translated on the seichel and midas level. He will never conceptualize a table. Put him in front of a table, he wouldn't know what to do with it. And you tell him, build me a table, you'll have to give him instructions from A to Z. Every little thing, because he doesn't know what he's doing.
And that's not because he doesn't relate to it.
That's not because he doesn't have it in the nefesh.
He has it,
But in the kelim, he can't relate, he can't connect the two. In order to relate in the kelim, can't go from the nefesh. He has to go from the chokhmah into bina, into midas, then he can relate to the kelim. Oil Bekeli has to be oil Bekeli, a definitive oil.
Definitive oil. Even the table's so fitting, if he's not experienced it before, if he comes to it, he doesn't immediately say, oh, this is the way it should be.
You have to show him, and eventually he can very quickly adapt to it.
Yeah.
But he has to go through, it has to be something that he experiences in his seichel. Chokhmah, bina, and midas. And then he really is up to it.
Right.
What's going on?
That's the music.
Oh, that's good. So, from Keser into Chochmah is not a Yom Seder Ishtalshelus. Keser is above Seder Ishtalshelus. Which means Keser is not coming into Chochmah by being redefined in Chochmah, being defined in a Keli. You can't redefine Keser in a Keli. Even in Kliyah Chochmah. How then does it come into Chochmah? So we always mention the principle of Chochmah is the beetle, the transparency.
Rabbi Paltiel, I'm sorry to interrupt. I had a bas koil for Akiva that he should call his zivug. She says it's urgent.
Okay. That was, he had a basket over here, but he ignored it. Now,
I see. So I can't ignore his bas koil.
no, you did right. You went to do it. Thank you.
Okay, good.
So Keser into Chochmah is not an from Seder Hishtalshelus.
I missed how does what you said about the table and the human being prove this proposition?
It doesn't prove that. I'm first coming to this proposition.
Okay.
I described how the whole principle of a table, how it comes into being defined in a keli and being able to use on that practical level. Even
Can
though
I just interrupt to ask, when you use the term oyer haseichel, oyer here always means something that's higher. It's the oyer behind the seichel. It's not the oyer that the seichel gives.
no, oyer haseichel means the higher oyer as it has now been condensed into seichel.
Okay. So, but it's not this. This oyer is what produces the seichel, not vice versa.
Yes, this oil the oil has, you could say, producer. The oil was mislavish in klei haseichel. It's called.
The seichel is a keli for the oyer.
For the oil.
For the oyer haseichel.
That's right. And then it becomes the oil haseichel. This oil originates in the keser, in the rotzen, which originates in the oinik, originates in the netzem and nefesh, and even etzem and nefesh, and it originates in God Himself, which is all oil coming from. The whole principle of oil, which is a principle of truth. Where does all emes come from? In the world there is no truth. In the world everything is just a combination of entities, not a single truth. Where does truth come? Oil, which is from Eibusher himself. Yes.
So in this context, we use the term bittul.
I'm not finished with that.
Okay.
So from Keser into Chochmah is not any from Seder Hishtalshelus. Seder Hishtalshelus means that you took one level and brought it down to a lower level, from Chochmah into Bina, from Bina into Midas, from Midas into Machshava Dibur U'Maisa. Like we had the example of the table, Machshava Dibur U'Maisa. The table, what you see is a keli altogether. You don't even see oil. You have to be a bar seichel to see the oil in it. But we actually see the keli. And this is true regarding the whole Seder Hishtalshelus. From a Chochmah perspective, Bina is just a keli. From a Bina perspective, Midas are just a keli. But there is oil in it. From Keser into Chochmah is not any from Keli. Because Keser sees, when it sees Chochmah, it sees itself in the Chochmah, not the Chochmah. Because Chochmah is a non-entity, Chochmah is beetle. How if Chochmah is how is Chochmah facilitate that the Keser, Oira Keser should go into Bina? And this is the great miracle in this. Chochmah is beetle. What does Chochmah facilitate, so that ultimately the oil should be mislabish and keli. That is a principle, and we spoke many times about the tzimtzum. The one difference between keser and chokhmah is that chokhmah looks at the keser from outside, whereas keser is the as entity itself. From the entity itself, there cannot be keli. Like we are talking about over here, the tzinoires, the tzimtzum and so forth. This is the similar inyan. Keser, relative to Chochmah, Keser is Atzilus. Many times in Chassidus, when he talks about Seder Ishtalshulas, he talks about the very same time. When it comes to Keser, Keser is referred to as the Etzem. Everybody knows that Keser is not Atzmus. Keser is the bottom of the kav, and then the kav there is various Seder Ishtalshulas, various madrigas, the kudim and ubludim, and then it goes into ak, and then goes to Eirus of Shukni Atzimtzum, and then it goes into Asmus. And yet, very often, for the ease of understanding, Keser is referred to as the Yetz. Why is it referred to as an Yetzim? What is the similarity there? Because Keser has no Keli at all. It's the reality itself. Keser has no Keli. Oil is not oil even from that perspective. It's just the reality itself. Like Rotzen. Keser is generally called Rotzen, Oinig and Rotzen, the two madrigas in Keser. The Atik and Arich.
All these are in Keser?
What?
All these four are in Keser? Oinig, Roots, and Atik and Arich?
It's the same thing. Oinig and Rotzen as Atik and Arich. Rotzen, as we discussed many times here, Rotzen is not a yin of Seder Hishtalshulas. Rotzen is a direct reflection of what the Etzem is. What?
So how do we go from Keser to Ratzon?
Keser and Rotzen, this is synonymous.
And being the bottom of the cup, meaning the bottom of its level, the top of the lower
right.
level?
That's right. See, this is like the Etzem.
It is what Seder Shtalskus is. It is what Keser is what Seder Shtalskus is trying to define.
Right, ultimately. So Seder Shtalskus it goes into Keli. But Keser itself is not a Seder, it's above Seder Shtalskus because it's not an oil. And the way Chochmah draws from Keser is not that it's translated into Chochmah. It takes the Keser the way it is. But it takes it outside. Like we say over the Moshel on Chochmah. The Moshel on Chochmah is sight. And then we also point out sight is a phenomenal inyan. It also doesn't make any sense in the Gashmistic arena. The Gashmi is if you want to relate to an object, you have to go and touch it. How is it that you see an object, and not only you see it from some kind of surmising, some kind of a dream, in reality, and it's more real by sight than even by touch. How is that? Because sight, the eye, in contrast to all other senses, all other facilitators in a person, touch, taste, smell, whatever it is, sight just abbreviates itself. It allows the reality to come through. That's all what sight is. Sight does not translate, does not experience what it sees. Like the ear experiences what it hears. The hand experiences what it touches. Sight doesn't. Sight gives you the reality the way it is. And that's the difference between the reality itself and the sight. The reality is reality. From that cannot come any Seder Hishtalshus, any development. But from sight can come Seder Hishtalshus. That's a Chochmah. And that's why we say Chochmah is the beginning of Seder Hishtalshus. Because in Chochmah, this truth of the nefesh, the truth of this rotzen, is now in a form of an oyer, of an identifiable, of an oyer that can ultimately be broken down into details, brought down into bina. What does it mean? Mitzad the rotzen ha-nefesh, you can't say what does it mean to be a human being. Mitzad chochmah, you can say what is it? How do you translate a human being? Self-respect,
So,
honesty.
What is the term for this instead of hamshacha?
Gilui.
Chochmah is a gilui of keser.
Right. Yodua de bechokma meir oirin soy bekiru mok. V'haina begilui oir rav. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, what you just said. So is this why bittul is so important? Because in essence there cannot be two realities. So until the thing is bittul, you can experience a different reality. Is that what? Is that? I'm asking. Is this why the process of bittul is so important? Because without bittul, in essence, you're saying you're two realities: my reality and plus.
So then you're not getting anything. You're taking it the way you want to take it.
Right. So.
It's not the real thing.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. All right. Let that be sufficient for the time being. So the important point which I wanted that we should really relate to and Mitzvah carry through the entire Hemshech. We're not talking about the creation of Kalim. We're talking about the drawing of the oyer. This is Seichel. You have now the lowest level and simplest level. Seichel is oyer, not a Kalim. It's mislabish in Kalim. Like we say, 1 and 1 is 2. There are two ways of looking at it. 1 and 1 is 2 once. That's the case. That's not Seichel. 1 and 1, 2 once. If I say 2, there is a kind of a union, kind of a relationship between them. That's a Seichel Keilim. That comes with the Nefesh, with the Seichel. Like we illustrate, everybody knows what you say, the halacha. Reuven, did you ever have that illustration? The halacha is that when you take Meiser Behema, you know that?
Yeah.
Meiser Behema is supposed to let it come through automatically. You can't take 1 out of 10 sheep and declare it Meiser. What if the opening that you made in your fence allows 2 sheep to come through at the same time, and you count them in 2s? Count them in 2s, so you count 10 2s, and the 10th 2 double is Meiser. How is that? It's not natural. Naturally, they are individual sheep. They're not tools. But that's seichel, they can become tools. So Mitzvahs Hagashmis, they're an individual. This is already an in avoid. So there's much to speak about this, but that's the question. Okay, Yodua the Bechachma. So Chachma, this is the Tchilas Hagilui, the Seder Ishtalshelus. Okay, and this is why this is the term Hagilui Seder Ishtalshelus, because this was at Gilui. Gilui means found with the way it is in the etzem, in the essence, in the keser. That's the reality itself. And then there is the Gilui of that, the expression of that. And that is in Chochmah, and this is what comes into the Seder Ishtalshelus. That provides for Seder Ishtalshelus, that we can take this Gilui and break it down into further details and into Kelim and so forth. V'yodua the B'chochmah Meir, as we said, okay, but Meir Oirin Soy B'kiruv Mokoim. The B'kiruv Mokoim, what's made the Chochmah Kiruv Mokoim? Because Chochmah does not obstruct the Oirin Soy. The way Chochmah is in Sof is directly.
And any vessel wouldn't do that.
No, a vessel has to define it according to what its capacity.
You may think a vessel is also bittul, but no, it's the fee what the vessel can hold
right.
and how it can be translated into.
That's right. It has to be according to the function of the vessel.
Masha'enkin bittul can kind of
Bittul of
accept-
Chochmah. Bittul of Chochmah.
Bittul of
There are different
Chochmah.
kind of bittul be'etzem, called bittul of Chochmah. It's a different kind of bittul.
So, and doesn't put in its own terms at all, just sort of accepts.
Zero.
Just
That's right.
and the
This is
only-
what we gave the example from the Gemara, that there's a melech coming into Medina, and along with him come all the various ministers, right? The Gemara says that. And all kinds of people look at this entourage, and each one says, I pick the minister of commerce, and I pick the minister of farming, the minister of defense, everyone according to his trade, according to his interest. Okay? And by picking the minister of commerce, he will get his permit to be able to export and import merchandise from different, whatever it is. Then hoyes on pikach echot.
That's chokhmah. Yeah.
That's chokhmah. What does the pikach echot say?
Ananas,
Ano nosiv malko. I take the malko. What does he have by taking the malko?
yeah, nothing, everything.
Is he going to go to the king and ask him, may you open a business on Kingston Avenue? What is he needing malko? How does the melech serve him in his world? He doesn't want himself. He wants them in the melech. That's bittul. That's bittul of chokhmah. That's what it's called pikach. Where he relates to reality itself. That's chokhmah. What does he have? The melech doesn't have anything that translates in his world. But as we say, that makes his world a real world.
It has nothing that translates in his world, yet it makes his world a real world.
But without a translation.
Some kind of aura comes into him. No?
No reality. That's him.
He's now living in reality. His whole world is lifted up.
Yeah. Vazai, and then after the Ein Sof is Meir Begilu Moka and Begilu Erab in Chochmah. So then im Shochim Lam et Beis Nesives Chochmah. From that are drawn the 32 pathways of Chochmah. Umeyirim Bebino, And these the pathways of Chokhmah are meir, they shine into Bina.
Point 32.
I don't know. It's all because Beis about this. The point is, there are pathways how you dig into the Chokhmah to identify various aspects that Bina can latch onto. Like, for example, what we just now gave the example of the two sheep, or 1 and 1 is 2. That is something which we recognize. That's true. There is a union. Then you can focus in and say, what's behind? What makes me say that there is a union? What's behind it? What do I perceive when I say that it's like a 2? There's a union between them. This perception, again, this is exclusively a human perception. It's a perception that comes from the Chokhmah, from the Nefesh. And what do we perceive in the Chokhmah and in the Nefesh? To put it very simply, if there are two sheep, the reason there are two sheep is because there is one sheep. It's one and the same creation. Contrary to the stupidity of evolution, that each sheep evolved in itself, the sheep were created by Maimar Alekim. But God created one sheep, He created all of them. So therefore there is two. And they actually relate. They represent the same thing. And that can be further understood. This is the pathways. What is it?
Goes back to one.
Huh?
The 2 is going back to 1.
Goes back to one. That's why they're one. That's why they can be considered as one. Halachically. There's nothing more profound than halach. Except you have to see it. But halacha, this is mamish the Dvar Hashem. This is the godly presence in the world.
We have to count it as one.
I'm sorry?
But the human has to count it as one.
The human can count it as one because he has that perception. He understands that it's one.
Come here. Yeah.
ואחר כך מבינו and then from Bina there's a further Seder Hishtalshelus, which means a further draw of this oil. Nimshach.
Me too. I'm sorry.
Mebina Nimshach Nun Share Bina. In Bina there are 50 gateways of Bina. How to capture Bina. HaMeirim, and these Nun Share Bina, they illuminate Bezai and Midas in the 7 Midas. Again, Midas are, we say, emotive things. I want this, I do this, and so. We have to understand, Midas have an Oira Nefesh. There's an Oira Nefesh in Chesed and an Nefesh in Gvura, and this comes through the Bina, the Nun Share Bina, which comes from Chochem, which comes from Etzem Nefesh. Bezesh kosuv, and this is what the posuk is speaking about when it says Shiva v'Shiva mutzokes la'neiros asher oleho. This is the menorah that the novice saw. I don't remember which novice saw it. And you saw the menorah, and there were 7 neiros, and then you saw Shiva v'Shiva mutzokes la'neiros asher oleho. 7 mutzokes, 7 bases for the neiros. Pirush Rashi or Adak, and Rashi explains and Adak explains this posuk. Shiva pa'omim Shiva. Now the Shiva, Vishiva means 7 times 7. And why is it 7 times 7? Because Shelachol Behind Shelachol Neir, because to each one of the Neiris, each Neir represents another Mido, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. And the whole Neir, Boyin, Shiva, Tzineiris, Ktani. From each Neir come 7 small Tzineiris, small lines. Shehashem and Zov, Min Hagulo, Derech Eisen HaTzineiris. The Shem, the oil flows, Min Hagulo, from Hagula. This is a big container. There's on top of the menorah. Derech Eisen HaTzineiris, through the pathways of these tzineiros into each one of the neiros. The Ayin neiro is these 7 candles or neiros. Hein Zayin Hamidos. These are the 7 midos. V'lohem, and into them bo ha'hamshocha min memteas shari bina. The hamshocha into the neiros is from the memteas shari bina, the 49 shari bina gateways of bina. Shebahem nimshach shefach ha'chochma, and in this memteas shari bina is drawn the shefach ha'chochma, the supply from chochma. Shehu inyan Hashem. Chochma is the Shem. Now that we have discussed, so to speak, to such a degree of specificity, we can focus in and understand this presentation here. That ultimately, all the midas are neiros, are lights that represent a light from the nefesh. These lights are supplied by the bina, and this is the supply is essentially shemen, and this shemen comes from the chokhmah. This is essentially the principle that I mentioned before, and we have to maintain sight of this. When we talk about oir, we're not talking about mitzias, we're talking about the kelim. We're talking about the oir. Shemen is an allusion. The nature of shemen, as it says over there, shemen flows up on top of any fluid. Shemen does not mix. You can't mix shemen with anything. How much?
Permeates everything.
Huh?
But it permeates everything. It becomes fat. It becomes oil.
That permeates because it sends them above. It sends separate. When it permeates, it doesn't become. It doesn't become bottling. It's there. It's there as an identifiable entity. And if you put shemen on top of water or any liquid, it will always flow out. No matter a centrifugal force will never mix shemen. You can mix it, it will always flow back up.
It's identifiable.
Huh?
Identifiable.
It's always identifiable. Why? Because shemen, this is the oil hakeser. It doesn't become part of the mitzias of the world. and this is the Shem is called the Chochma is called Oir HaChochma is called the Oir Shem, because what is Chochma? Chochma brings the Keser. Keser is the Ma'amar Seder Hishtalshelus. That is the source of Oir. It is reduced and becomes Seichel and becomes Chochma and Bina and Midas. It remains Oir. It remains in essence Keser. In other words, at any level that you find oil, you immediately recognize this is not world, this is godly. Regardless of what the level is. Even as we said now, you count them in two as well. It's a simple physical thing. Can't explain it, but if you recognize there is a godly principle. If it's worldly, there's no way you can explain that. So ultimately, it all comes from the Chochmah, which is Hashem.
Which is Hashem?
Hashem, right? Shuin Hashem. Nimtza.
You said that Shem is Kes.
You said Shem or Keser.
Shemen is Oil HaKeser, as it comes into Chochmah. Keser is the etzem. This is the Keser as Chochmah perceives.
The outside, you said.
Right.
So does it mean that we don't have the essence of Keser because the Chachma perceives only the outside of the Keser?
In Chochmah and in Seder Yishas, we don't have the essence of Keser. We have the Keser as a makif. But within the Seder Yishas, we don't have the essence of Keser. We only have the Oyev Keser. The way Chochmah basically is.
And when we have the or in the or, there's no accent. No accent.
No, it's representative of the essence. That's what Shaman is. Representative of the essence, but it's not the essence itself. The essence is present, but it's not mislavish and kelim in any way.
Is it present through this Ishtalshus?
No, it's just present. That's a maki. It's called a maki. Nimtza, thus it comes out, Heim Tzinoiros, that these 7 times 7, these 7 Tzinoiros from Bina, such Tzinoiros shebahem meir min hachochma el hamidus, that through them there is a shine from the chochma into the midas, and shebechochma melubosh oirin soif mehakav v'hatzinoir. And what's in chochma? Chochma is melubosh the oirin soif. That comes from the kav, which is the tzina. Ultimate tzina that comes from the oirin soif. Okay, now we're coming to another stage in Seder Hishtalshelus, which we will need a little time to present, but just want to start it. The hakelim the zoom, the kelim of zoom. which is Zoh Malchus. Nasim Neshama Libiyah. They ultimately serve as a Neshama for Biyah. Biyah is this is really outside of Atzilus, outside of the godly reality. It's really an external creation. That creation does not have direct oir from the Kav. It is the Kelim, the Zoom, that create this creation.
But yet it becomes a neshama.
This is called the neshama of Biyah. In Biyah, this is the neshama. This is, as I said, this needs to be introduced and discussed. This is quite, similar to the principle that how do you teach a child or a human being, for that matter, how to behave as a human being? You sit him by a table, which is the keli. And he somehow gets the message, and he senses that there is something significant in it. But he sees it's the kelim. The kelim are translated, which is Biyah is like Mashal Dibur U'Mais. This is something that he can present and physically demonstrate. This is this is what we say, that the kelim of Zun, the kelim of Atzilus, of the Midas Atzilus. This is what provides for Biyah. What do we in the mashal of Machshava Dibur U'Maisa? What do we understand the Machshava? What do we grasp in Machshava? The kelim of the Midas, not the Oira Midah itself. That we cannot translate the Machshava in Oisias and Dibur or anything like that. Okay, to be continued in Mitzvah. So this is it for this morning.
What do you leave out Das? You say Chokhmah Bina. Doesn't Das go with Chokhmah and Bina to get to the Midos?
Yeah.
We're just assuming it.
Das is the principle of oil comes from Chokhmah and Bina. Das is the means by which it connects to the Midos. It's a connector. All right, have a good day. Whoever is online still. Okay.
Anyone need a phone?
One question I have, which is I guess a basic question, is the rough statement that the true reality, God's and our reality are mutually exclusive. I always understood the whole thing from Chabad is like I said, many places being down to the Gemara from Yuma, I think it is, that own Einamin Amida, that you have to there is certain guidelines, but yet within these guidelines we have to have something which is reality. The mashal is a very practical example of this. If you learn even by the Rav, and you say a Chiddush, wow, you're great. And then I see Pashto people, 770 people I know have good heads and how to learn, and they're running around doing the song. I'd be embarrassed. Ask, are you Jewish? They don't even think about themselves. So isn't that redefining reality? Isn't what Chabad wants? That to reality is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, not my Chiddush. So, and Chayr, that's the whole Avodah. So when you said earlier that reality, with regard to reality, and what we call Welt, they're mutually contradictive, exclusive terms. One precludes the other. In essence, the Chabad idea is we should make that our reality, and it's possible through Bittul, through what have you.
Yeah.
So, but the Rav, I'm saying again that reality and Welt is two separate.
That's
things.
not his slapshus. Yes, from mitzvahs you can do it in Asiya, but that's not the slapshus. You can't make sense of it. The slapshus you can make sense of it.
Oh, so it's like an automatic pilot, and then you're out of the picture, but not as if you. Oh, very good. Not as if you're grasping like you're doing. No, if you're grasping like you're doing, you won't be doing it. So you think about it's embarrassing. Oh, very nice. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to today, by the way. As usual.
No. This.